What's up guys, Tommy Bowyer here from Movie Rewind, and today I will be reviewing Spider-Man the animated series. Now this series came out in the 90s and it is part of my long-running Spider-Man movie review series. And while this is an animated cartoon and not a full-length Spider-Man movie, it is the series which made me fall in love with the character of Spider-Man, and that's why I'm the massive fan I am today. So I feel it deserves its own review, so without further ado, let's get into it. So before I review the series, I thought I would just go over my history with this series. Now, I first started watching it when I was about 4 years old, when my dad bought me Spider-Man the Ultimate Villains Showdown. Now this was actually a compilation, it was 4 episodes from the series, and I loved it. I loved the incarnation of Spider-Man, I loved all the villains. I believe it had Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin in it, as well as various other villains. So I really enjoyed it. And then when I was 6 years old, I was in HMV. This was before I used Amazon to buy all my DVDs. I was in HMV and I picked this up. Spider-Man Complete Season 1. Now, as a 6-year-old, I did not realise that there was more episodes of this series than the original 4 I used to watch. So, the idea that I could watch a whole series of 13 episodes just blew my mind. So, after watching this, I decided to go back into HMV and see if there was any other seasons. And, in the end, I was able to get all 5 seasons of Spider-Man the animated series. Each one I think is really good. Each episode of this series I enjoyed. And right now I'm just going to go through each of the 5 seasons and just give a kind of mini review on each season, which will then make up a larger review in total when I give my conclusion at the end. So, well, let's start off where we started, with Season 1. So Spider-Man the Complete Season 1 is very different to all the other seasons. I see it as an introduction. I think if you're going to start watching this series, start off with Season 1 because it introduces you to the character of Spider-Man. You understand what he stands for. It also explains some of the Uncle Ben. It also introduces Aunt May, Mary Jane Watson. So it introduces all the stuff which, you know, you often say that is Spider-Man. And what's unique about this season compared to the others is that for the majority they're all solo stories. There is no narrative running throughout all of the episodes in this season. There are a couple of 2-parters and a 3-parter involving Venom, which is brilliant. So it's not as good as the other seasons because there is no narrative. I prefer it in the later seasons when they go for the narrative. However, if you want to understand who Spider-Man is and you want to just enjoy him fighting classic villains like Dr. Octopus, Scorpion and Mysterio, then I would recommend watching this season first because it introduces you to everything. So Season 2 is where things got serious. In my opinion, Season 2 is the best of all of the 5 seasons because it has a very strong narrative. What the narrative is, the actual, because this is when they started giving them chapters instead. So this chapter is entitled Neogenic Nightmare, and basically we see some really brilliant moments in this season. We see Morbius the Living Vampire, he's introduced, the Insidious 6 is introduced, and also we see, and it's a personal favourite of mine, Man-Spider. We see Spider-Man mutating into a giant spider. Now, it might sound a bit cheesy, however, when I first saw this, when I was about 6, it scared me. It really did. Plus, if you want to see Kraven the Hunter and the Punisher team up to defeat Man-Spider, then what more can you ask for? This season delivered far better than the first season. The narrative I really enjoyed. You don't really see a lot of kids shows which go for that strong narrative. I would say if you're going to watch this season, make make sure that you watch it from beginning to end, because you cannot really, you know, start in episode 7 like the first season. It just won't work because there is a clear narrative there. So I would say this is the best season in the 5 seasons. Even though I enjoyed each one individually, this one was the best because I feel it has the clearest narrative and it really shows the team behind this series at their highest. So yeah, I would recommend this. This is the best season out of all 5. So season 3 of Spider-Man the Animated Series continues much like the second one did. The narrative is not as strong in this season, although what is different is they introduce a lot of other Marvel characters. So this did start in the second season. They introduced the X-Men. However, in this one they introduced Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Iron Man. They introduced loads of Marvel heroes, and I think that's probably because a lot of the Marvel TV shows were on the air at this point, so crossovers, you know, they were happening. So the MCU weren't the first, they were doing it in the cartoons before they did it in the MCU, remember that. But the one thing about this season is that it introduced the Green Goblin, which I think is a really strong idea. I mean, we've had the Hobgoblin before this, and to be honest, I do prefer the Hobgoblin. Not only is he voiced by Mark Hamill during this series, however, I just prefer the design of the Hobgoblin. I think he's a much more visually appealing character. However, the Green Goblin is really good, and I will not spoil it. However, the cliffhanger is superb. The final episode of this series really does change the tone as a whole. I mean, the journey which Spider-Man, this is the end of the happy-go-lucky Spider-Man. This third series is the last time we see a happy-go-lucky Spider-Man. After that, in the other 2 series, we see a much darker and more serious Spider-Man, which you could say is a good thing. I do think it's a good thing. However, this series does have a lot of merits. It does do a lot of good things. While it's not as good narrative as the second series, you know what, it does stand out, it does some great things, so I'll always hold it in high regard. Now season 4 is a very interesting season. It's a decrease in the level of episodes. The first season had 13 episodes, the last, second and third season had 14 episodes, the 4th series has 11 episodes, which is a decrease, and the narrative once again is not very strong. I would say it is stronger than the narrative in season 3. However, the one thing that this series did do really well was it introduced Black Cat. And you know what, Black Cat's been in a lot of things. I'm just going to say it, Black Cat's best adaptation is in this animated series, because she's just brilliant and she teams up with Spider-Man, and I think, well, that's just awesome. I like them two working together. I mean, it gives Spider-Man someone to, you know, work off of. When he's on his own, there was a lot of commentary. Now, though, he just talks to Black Cat, and they build up quite a good relationship. So I think that's really good. And of course, the one thing about the 4th series, especially the first half, not so much the second half, is we see a more serious Spider-Man. We see the anger that is in him after the season 3 finale, and I kind of like a serious Spider-Man. Yeah, the one who has all the comedy is quite good, but we've had 3 seasons of that. What they tried to do for the first half of the 4th series is give us something different, give us a more dark and serious hero, and I think it pays off. Season 4, when I first watched it, I didn't really like it. However, now I'm older and I keep seeing it, I prefer the darker tone. So I'd say season 4 is one of the better seasons because it's just got a darker tone and it's trying something different. And, well, there's not much else to say really. I like season 4. Now, Spider-Man, the complete season 5, in my opinion, is not, I'd say it's the worst, although that sounds really bad. What you got to understand is I hold the other 4 in such high regards that this is still good. It is still a good series. In my personal opinion, it is just not up to the standard that the other 4 were. The problem with the 4th series is, the problem with the 5th series is, I don't know if they felt they were running out of ideas, or they felt that Spider-Man could no longer, you know, hold up his own TV show, because they introduced a lot of other Marvel characters. I think there's only about 3 episodes in this season in which Spider-Man is on his own without another supporting Marvel character. We get the introduction of Captain America and Red Skull, and the first 6 episodes basically tell, it's a Captain America story in a Spider-Man animated series. So it did seem a bit strange. Red Skull, while it was good to see, I don't know, I felt like maybe a Spider-Man villain could have been included. And they do involve the Sinister Six, although they're kind of pushed to the side, so I just don't understand why. I don't think you needed Red Skull or Captain America in that. As for the last few episodes, we get an adaptation of Secret Wars, which I think is really strong. We get an introduction of Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Storm, you know, Captain America returns. So I think that's quite good that we get Secret Wars. The villains they pick for Secret Wars include Red Skull, Dr. Octopus, and of course Doctor Doom. Now, Doctor Doom is a good threat. I don't know, it feels like for this season they were not really trying to make it a Spider-Man season. They were more just trying to make it an Avengers season, which isn't a bad thing. You know, they could have made their own TV show about the Avengers. I don't think they needed to inject the Avengers into the final series of Spider-Man. Although the final 2 episodes are called Spider Wars. Yeah, you heard me. Spider Wars. Now, they're actually fun. They do a lot of Spider-Verse stuff. It's quite interesting. It is quite interesting. I don't know what made them choose that title, Spider Wars. It just seems like a bit of a ridiculous title. I don't know why. So yeah, season 5 is not as good as the other 4. However, I still watch it. I still have fond memories of it. Although I do think it should be called the Avengers TV series instead of Spider-Man Season 5, because it just doesn't seem like it really focuses on Spider-Man that much. So in conclusion, Spider-Man the animated series got me involved in Spider-Man, and it's probably the reason I'm a Spider-Man fan today. It got me to watch the movies, yes, even Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I hold it in high regard. I do think that it is the best Spider-Man adaptation ever put on TV screen. I know some people say that the Spectacular Spider-Man, which is also good, I would say though that Spider-Man the animated series, it's very nostalgic, it's got a charm to it, and even, you know, when they reuse some scenes or when the dialogue is not always right, I don't know, there's just a nostalgic charm to it, and I just love this series, and I would give this series as a whole a 10 out of 10, and it deserves it. It got me, as well as so many others, fascinated with Spider-Man, and without the series, I don't think we would have had Sam Raimi's 2002 Spider-Man movie, because he takes quite a lot of influence from this series, so it's a brilliant series, one of the best. Thanks for watching, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed my Spider-Man series review. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe in order to receive great and maybe even improved quality content in the future. And now the next one in this series is going to be my new review, because I did do a review of this movie previously on my channel. It's going to be my review of The Amazing Spider-Man, and a lot has changed in the years since I reviewed it, and so you're just going to have to stay tuned to see that. So I will see you guys in the next one. See ya!